The small green sign on the side of the road announced we had arrived. Canton La Havia. I remembered calling over the loud music to the bus driver. Baja, por favor. Squeezing through sweaty women and men, chickens, and the occasional goat sharing the bus ride. Turning down the steep, bumpy road, I did a double take, thinking I saw dear Porfirio waiting for me at the bus stop. The familiar smell of dust and trees and diesel exhaust filled the air. My eye caught sight of my favorite flowered tree. As we parked, my heart began beating quickly. Stepping out of the microbus, I felt a wave of emotion, not quite believing I was back to this sacred ground. Cristina, the now ex-daughter of Charity, who had got me into this in the first place 8 years ago, nudged me forward. Vámonos, pues. Let's go already. What was I waiting for? I felt a mix of excitement and fear about this unannounced visit to Angelica's home. How to prepare one's heart for a long-lost soul reunion. Familiar sounds brought me back to the moment. My feet carried me down the path of the Salvadoran realidad, turning the bend, finding the small wooden door latched with a wire loop. I knocked and waited, not knowing what the next minutes would hold. Angelica opened the door. Eyes wide, we both stood holding our breaths. We both stood in disbelief at this providential re-encounter. Is it really you, Angelica? The shy Salvadoran woman who before my eyes learned to cry basta ya and began organizing the women in her community, began standing up for herself amidst the violence of poverty? ¿Eres tú, Ana? The tall gringa who barely understood Spanish, yet sat for hours playing cards, walking, accompanying, soaking in la realidad. The same abrazo of bienvenida that had welcomed me unconditionally 8 long years ago once again embraced me. I entered mi casa. In the kitchen with the familiar pat, pat, pat sound of making tortillas, the heat of the plancha, I hear the words I had dreaded for years. Pensé que me olvidaste. I thought you had forgotten me. My heart flooded with memories as I looked deep into Angelica's eyes, holding her hand tightly. How could I forget the hospitalidad Angelica offered me by inviting me into her home, into her intimate story of being a Salvadoran woman? How could I forget witnessing from ground up the creation of a meal program to feed the hungry stomachs, to unite the gifts of the women? How could I forget the communion of eating pan dulce, drinking Nescafe, learning to listen exquisitely to another way of being? Words can't explain the experience of falling in love, having my heart broken, and allowing the Salvadoran people's gentle forgiveness to mend me and make my heart stronger. Forgotten you? Don't you realize that my entire life has been shaped by our encuentro? That every day I remember the lessons you taught me. I squeezed Angelica's hand. Pero estamos aquí ahora. But we are here now. Dios está aquí. God is here.